It was a bustling May morning in Washington, D.C., when Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene did something that would shake global politics and wreck her own career. Appearing on Fox News' morning show, Greene was asked about Ibrahim Traoré's rising influence across Africa. The host, Brian Kilmeade, asked plainly, "Marjorie, what do you make of President Traoré's growing popularity as an African leader?" Marjorie smirked, adjusted her red blazer, and leaned forward. "Brian," she said, with a laugh, "this Ibrahim Traoré guy is just another African dictator dressing up his failures as some kind of miracle. Burkina Faso is a corrupt, bankrupt nation, and frankly, I'm tired of the liberal media fawning over these so-called leaders. He probably doesn't even know where America is on a map." Laughter erupted from the hosts. "Someone needs to expose the fantasy he's selling," she added coldly. Her words weren't just offensive, they were personal attacks on a sitting head of state. Within hours, clips of the broadcast had gone viral across the globe. In African countries, outrage exploded. In Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, President Ibrahim Traoré sat in his office, surrounded by ministers. He watched the clip in silence. Dr. Alonso Okokul, his health minister, was visibly angry. "Mr. President," that was a racial insult, disguised as politics. Traoré remained calm, studying Marjorie's background on a tablet. "She's underestimated us," he said. "Let's give her a chance to compare our truths. Call an international press conference and prepare a full dossier on her public record." He looked up. "If she wants to talk about honesty, we'll show the world who's really lying." The next morning, the presidential palace became a command center. Traoré's communication and data teams got to work. "Gentlemen," he addressed them in the strategy room, "we've been accused of falsifying our progress. Let's respond with documented facts." Yakuba Sawadogo, his communications advisor, laid out a thick file. "Sir, Congresswoman Greene has a long documented history of spreading conspiracy theories and verifiable falsehoods. They uncovered claims about Jewish space lasers, denials of school shootings, lies about her education, and false COVID narratives." Meanwhile, Fatimata Sawadogo, the economic minister, came armed with stats. "Burkina Faso's poverty reduction outpaces her Georgia district. Our education outcomes are higher. Crime is significantly lower." Traoré nodded slowly. "So she calls us liars while presiding over worse conditions. Draft a formal invitation. Let her debate me on live TV, on facts, not fantasy." A trap was being built. By evening, the world was watching. In a bold move, President Traoré held a live press conference. Calmly, he addressed the cameras. "Yesterday, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene questioned our nation's integrity. I hereby invite her to a live global debate, moderated by a neutral journalist, where we compare facts, not fiction." It was a move she couldn't ignore. If she declined, she'd look weak. If she accepted, she'd walk into the lion's den. The news exploded. Twitter trended. #Greene, Faz Traoré, US. Littered networks ran it as African president calls out US Congresswoman live on Capitol Hill. Greene watched the footage in stunned silence. "Should we decline?" her aide asked nervously. "Decline," she barked. "I'm not scared of some African bureaucrat." But when she dug into his background, her confidence shook. Traoré had degrees in engineering, public administration, and economics. He spoke 5 languages and had led Burkina Faso to multiple international development awards. "Damn," she muttered. "This guy isn't some backwater politician. He's a genius." But it was too late. Backing down now would be suicide. The date was set. For the next 3 days, Greene buried herself in reports on Burkina Faso, hoping to uncover flaws in their data. As she snapped at her aide, "Find me anything. Corruption, scandals, economic failures." He returned with a grim face. "Ma'am, The IMF, UN, and World Bank all confirmed Traoré's data. "No way," she growled. "No African country grows that fast. There has to be something wrong." But the facts didn't lie. Worse, her team discovered Traoré was compiling a brutal dossier of her lies. "Marjorie," her aide Jennifer whispered, "he's documenting your falsehoods with video sources. Everything." Green paled. He wouldn't dare bring that into a debate about Africa. Jennifer raised an eyebrow. "You brought lies into it first." May 30th, debate night. Broadcast in 89 countries, moderated by CNN's Christiane Amanpour. Green sat in Atlanta. Traoré joined from Ouagadougou. "Good evening," Christiane began. "Tonight we witness an unprecedented debate between Congresswoman Green and President Traoré on governance, facts, and leadership." Green tried to maintain composure. Amanpour started. "Congresswoman, what evidence do you have to support your accusations?" "African regimes inflate data," she replied. "They lie to get international aid. Burkina Faso is no exception." Traoré smiled. "All our data is verified by global institutions." "Miss Green, what specific lies are you referring to?" She fumbled. "Well, it's obvious. Nothing is obvious without evidence," he replied gently. "And Miss Green, given your record of falsehoods, perhaps we should examine your own truthfulness." Then the bombshell dropped. Traoré projected headlines and video clips. Jewish space lasers blamed for wildfires. Fact-checked. False Sandy Hook was a false flag. Fact-checked. False masks equal sign Holocaust. Fact-checked. False Democrats drink children's blood. Fact-checked. False. "This is a smear campaign," Green shouted. "These are your own words," Traoré said calmly. "If someone with this record accuses me of lying, shouldn't we first assess the credibility of the accuser?" The debate spiraled. Green's composure cracked. "This is all irrelevant," he yelled. "It's highly relevant," Traoré replied. "You accused me of lying without evidence. I provided mine. Where's yours?" Green exploded. "You Africans are all the same, always blaming others, always lying for handouts." The studio froze. Even Amanpour was stunned. "Congresswoman, that was uncalled for." Traoré exhaled, his voice heavy. "Thank you. You've just shown the world that your attacks weren't based on facts, but racism. Within hours, the world turned on Green. Her racist outburst was clipped and shared millions of times. Hashtags like #Green, Meltdown, and #Traoré wins trended globally. At the White House, staff scrambled to distance themselves. "Her views do not reflect this administration." A statement read, "Major brands pulled campaign funding. We cannot support racism," said one tech company. In Burkina Faso, crowds celebrated in the streets. "President Traoré defended our dignity," they chanted. African leaders called to congratulate him. "You've exposed hypocrisy at the global level," Ghana's president said. In the days that followed, Green's speaking invitations were revoked. Her district began turning on her. The House Ethics Committee launched an investigation. Social media platforms began restricting her posts. Meanwhile, Traoré embarked on a European tour, hailed as a hero. France's Macron declared Traoré defended Africa's honor against racism disguised as criticism. He was invited to NATO, honored by the UN, even offered a visiting professorship at Harvard. A year later, the tables had completely turned. At the UN, President Traoré addressed world leaders. "When unfairly accused, we must respond with dignity and facts. Real leadership doesn't lie. It educates." He received standing ovations. Marjorie Taylor Greene, once loud and proud, now faced a fierce Republican challenger in her own district. Her approval ratings had plummeted. Even her supporters were embarrassed. "She's no longer an asset, she's a liability," said one GOP donor. Traoré, now a global icon of statesmanship, concluded in a speech. Sometimes our enemies give us more visibility than our allies. Thank you, Miss Green, for helping the world see the power of truth over hate.